So Lisa, congratulations on being selected. This is a really great opportunity for me because we share a common bond.
Right.
And that is domestic violence.
Right.
So tell me, as a domestic violence survivor, what is the main thing you take away from your past versus now?
How fearless and how strong I am. How your mind, once you reach for something or there's something that you want, and your mind is just such a powerful tool.
It is.
Powerful tool. So, my story started May 27, 1991, around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You didn't ask me that, but I was just going to go ahead and just...
No, as a matter of fact, I was just about to ask you to share a little bit of this just unbelievable story.
Well, it started May 27th, but it actually started years prior to.
I understand what you're saying.
I lived in Florida for 5 months. My estranged husband or ex-husband worked on a fishing boat. We have a 2-year-old son at the time. And we were like, he pulled a knife on me then. And I was like, you can't do it, you can't stab me, we got to ward a bed, you can't do it, whatever. I called my dad and I was like, I need to come home. So he sent me the funds to come home. And I drove 12 hours straight in a van with a trash can with my potty training child to use the bathroom. So came home and I was there for 2 weeks, and then my estranged husband came back, and we had a pool at the time, and I had a t-shirt on, Life's a Bleach, Then You Die. My son was taking a nap in our den. My parents had left to go to a parade. And so he came in and we talked, and I was like, you just need to leave, you just need to go back to Florida. Here's the van, here's beer, just go. He went to get a drink of water. I heard him in the kitchen. I had my back turned, and he came up behind me, and I thought he hit me, and I looked and saw the shadow of the knife sticking out of my back, and then I just fell over into my parents' bedroom. So I then had to be nice to him to take my son to safety. So he took him to his mom's. He pulled the knife out, which at the time I didn't know. He should have really left the knife in because I lost so much blood.
Right.
Like I could feel the thickness and just the warmth of the blood just running down. And so I laid there and I was like, my neighbors were out in the yard. And I was like, if I can get to my old room, there's a clown plaque laying on the floor, and I could just throw it out the back door. My friends Renee and Sharon, they would hear me or hear it. And I did. Somehow I got turned around, made it to my bedroom, and never made it to that clown plaque. He had then called the operator. 911 was not available then. And I don't know what he told him. I was just laying there listening to One Life to Live, and Gabrielle was on the... So I knew it was like around 2 o'clock. And I'm thinking, Gabrielle's voice isn't going to be the last voice that I hear. Because I just knew I was dying. So called, ambulance came. A neighbor heard on his scanner. He was a fireman. And my dad had just left to go with a friend wherever. And the butcher was like, Wayne, they're coming up your road. Let's follow it. He was nosier than a woman, and I'm so thankful.
Right.
And they pull up, and the ambulance is in the front yard at my front door. So my dad rides with me in the ambulance, and prior to, the cops came, and I told them who did it and that kind of thing. And CB radios were a big thing back then, and so they found Billy, and he did take Luke to his mom's. My sister, thank God, went and got my son, and anyway, they had to life flight me to Duke. I had to have a chest tube. And I was immediately paralyzed from my chest down. So I have a dear friend, Ginger, who was paralyzed at 16 in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew what I was going to have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't know how I was going to feel. I didn't know how I was going to feel in that. I didn't know how she felt. But I knew what I would have to go through. So that made it a little better.
Mm-hmm.
It's very ironic how things happen. But,
You felt like there was someone there to kind of share what you were going through?
yeah. Yeah, so she was there. She came to the hospital, you know. It was just so crazy that your childhood friend, you're in the wheelchair at the same time. So with a lot of prayer and a lot of...
Now, let me stop you for just a second. So you're in the wheelchair, and you shared with me a little bit earlier a bit about this story, but the two of you had two very different perspectives on how you were going to handle being in that particular situation at the time. What was going through your mind? Besides the fact that you thought that this was a permanent situation, what were you telling yourself about, you know, your future outlook at that point?
I had a 2-year-old son. So if I was going to be in a wheelchair, I was going to be the best person I could be in a wheelchair. I was going to be an active mom and do everything that I needed to do to be there for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I thought about was my son.
That was what was driving you.
Right.
So you're in the wheelchair. What happened next?
So, by the grace of God, I got movement in my left leg. And I thought, okay, so it's on.
Right.
I got this. So, July 4th weekend, I was in the hospital. I had 6 blood clots, 3 behind each knee. So I had to lay there and I'm like, okay, dear Lord, I got movement in my left leg. If I can get my big toe to move on my right leg, I got this. So I'm laying there and I call back home and, you know, my dad and my sister are taking care of my son, which is wonderful. And I'm reading this book and in my mind, my big toe's moving. I look, it's not. So I do this, I don't know, over the course of days, I guess. And I looked and my big toe moved. Wow. I was like, I got this. I got this. So then I have a very physical therapist. Her name is Kathy Mansfield. They call her Mern. She's from Ohio. I need to find her. She really took it upon herself to really work with me. After hours, weekends. I mean, I went home with her.
Wow.
And she was like, all right, Lisa, let's get your quads going. So I'm laying there and she's holding my leg and she's like, kick with your quads. And I kicked and my leg just jumped out. And then I started walking. Like the whole walking, like you get up and you walk. Like you don't think
You take it for granted.
Right. I have to think. I have to think what's the road gonna be like? What kind of shoes do I wear? I have to get my mind to move my right leg. I mean, it's a total, but I do it. They told me I'd never walk again. They told me I'd never do hair again. And I did.
Well, probably at some point somebody thought that you were going to live.
That's right. That's right. So I did. I overcame, and it's, you know,
Now, how many years of abuse did you go through?
It was probably, probably 3 years. I made it when I was 19.
Okay.
And just wanted to get out of my house, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it was, yeah, then I became pregnant.
Of course, yeah.
And I stayed with them because I wanted a family. I wanted us to be together. My parents had gotten separated, so I was like, I really wanted a family.
And I think in my mind, you don't realize that the evil people that you hear about are actually real and you can encounter them. So you think, this person can't be all that bad.
Right.
Because you have good moments with those people.
Right.
And you have, you know, times where things are seemingly perfect. And it's hard. It's really hard. It's easier for you to hate a stranger who comes up and does something awful to you than it is to really break away from someone that you have any sort of attachment to.
Right.
Because you want to believe the best in those people.
Right.
And you want to think, you know, there's no way someone can stay bad forever. But they can. And we know that. So you have just a miraculous story about not becoming a statistic and a remembrance victim. You definitely are a survivor. So what happened to your abuser?
He escaped. There was the first time I took him back to jail, and he escaped again, and that's when the cops caught him. So he was incarcerated for a total of 8 years and 11 months.
Mm-hmm. And what was the charge?
Malicious wounding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, malicious
He
wounding.
got lucky.
Which
should have been attempted murder.
Right. Right. Cause,
right?
Right.
But back then it was hard to get anything done when it came to domestic violence.
Right. Yeah. And two, because it takes, a victim 7 times to leave, maybe longer. Mm-hmm. So I did. I left. I went back. I left. I went back.
Mm-hmm.
So I still didn't deserve this. This should have never ever happened. Could have been totally avoidable. Right. You know what I mean? And it plays havoc in not only my life but my family's.
Mm-hmm.
My son has had a hard time with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been. So I really want to break that cycle.
Right, and you have. Through everything that you've done since then, because it's been how long now?
28 years.
But at certain times, I would guess the wound is still very fresh.
Oh.
And
yes.
every time you see your son, you think about this other person because you share this life that came into the world. So it's really hard to just put it out of your mind forever. So what have you done since then to make your life amazing?
Well, I actually, for my son's 30th birthday, they actually worked together. So I went to my son's work with cake and that kind of thing, and we actually broke bread. We had...
So you found forgiveness?
I did. Like, for real forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always said, I forgive. But I had to. And I had to do it for my son.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot for me. But it was just, I had to do it.
Right.
To make him complete. Because you know what, it's done.
He didn't choose the circumstance in which
That's
he
right.
came into this world.
That's right.
But you have, you've given him a tremendous gift. And I think, knowing that this is the history of his parents, it is an incredible struggle for a child to go through, knowing that, his father could have taken the life of his mother. And you being, I guess, having the strength to forgive him, and to not only forgive him, but even be in the same room with him,
Right.
says a tremendous amount about who you are.
Yeah.
When I'm sure, early on after what you went through, you looked over your shoulder all the time.
Oh, yeah.
When did you stop?
I don't know.
Have you?
I don't know.
I don't think you ever stop.
I don't think, yeah.
But you become more aware of what you want and where you are and who's around you.
Yeah.
So, looking at you now, I know you're a realtor now, and you bring a lot of joy to people, getting them, their wonderful dream house. What's your dream?
Oh my goodness.
I totally caught you off guard, right?
I don't know. I just love just helping others and being with others, and just having for my children to have such a good, solid life. It hasn't been that good. It just really hasn't. I have been mentally, emotionally a wreck, a total train wreck. And I was going through to kind of fake it till you make it, but I was really in survival mode. That's what I was doing. So I just really want my kids to be happy and healthy, and to hopefully they have children, and to be the best.
That. What do you want for you?
I don't know. Health and happiness, and to be the best that I can be.
I think you're on track. So what did you think when you found out you won?
I really didn't think I was going to win. I had a trip planned to Oak Island with my friend Joanna, and I was like, I didn't even tell her about it because I was like, I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win. And really, I was a little scared.
To tell your story out loud?
To tell my story loud. A lot of people know my story, but it's still 28 years.
Right.
And people think you think about it, 28 years is a long time.
It is.
I can go back to that day.
You can remember smells
and I can
and
remember everything.
Yes.
I remember everything about that day. I will never ever forget it. And you know what? If it took a knife in the back for me to get away from him, I'll take it. But I don't want another woman or man to ever have to go through that.
Right.
To ever have to go through with what I did. You know, make a
I
plan.
totally
You
agree
have
with
to
you.
make a plan to leave.
Right.
You have to know that you're safe and that your kids are safe.
Right.
And there are people out there that help, that will be able to help you do that.
And what would be something that you would tell someone who's in the situation that you're in? Because I'm sure, you know, friends and family did the same thing that they did with me. They recognized it right away. They saw it right away.
Right.
What would you tell them besides the make a plan is crucial,
Right.
absolutely crucial, but how to mentally prepare for that?
You just have to recognize, and you have to be ready, and you have to know that what they're telling you is a lie. They're lying to you. Of course they love you and they're going to make it up to you and they'll never do it again. It's a lie. You have to protect yourself. You have to be fearless and you have to be strong, and you can do it. You can do
Absolutely.
it. You can do it. So not for someone to end up like me, which I'm fine. I got a little gimp in my step, but I'm good, you know, like I'm good. And it's taken a while. It's been a very long journey.
Well, congratulations. I'm so happy to meet you in person and to hear your story. And, you know, I mean, in the world that we share, it's just phenomenal. Like, some of the stories you hear, you think, wow, how did this person persevere? But you're a flesh human just like me, and sometimes it takes just that one thing to I guess create your destiny for you, even though most people probably wouldn't choose it
Right.
as their destiny. This was your calling, and you're going to save lives,
Right.
and probably have.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
I'm
you.
so excited.